Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. How are you? I hope all you are well by the grace of Almighty. I am also well by the grace of Almighty. I, Shofiul Alam Setu, am the senior teacher of mathematics, Milestone School and College. My dear students of class 6, today our chapter number 2 and name ratios and percentages. At first I will discuss some basic things, then I will solve example 1 creative question. After that example number 3. So let us see. Review of previous lesson. My dear students, this is the first class after the half-yearly syllabus. Today, I want to know from all of you, how was your half-yearly examination? I hope all you had done well, and I hope you will listen to this class now carefully and write CW. So, aim or objectives of the class, at the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain ratio, explain equivalent ratio, explain simple ratio, explain ratio of less inequality, explain ratio of greater inequality, explain unit ratio, explain inverse ratio, explain mixed or compound ratio, solve example 1 creative question. So my dear students, this is the thing you will learn today: ratio, equivalent ratio, after that simple ratio, ratio of less inequality, ratio of greater inequality, unit ratio, inverse ratio, mixed or compound ratio, and lastly example 1. Chapter 2. At first I want to show you a related video on basic discussion. Let us enjoy the video.
Ratio and its applications. In this module, you will learn about ratio, equivalent ratios, and some applications of ratio. Mom, I'm thirsty. Please make a glass of orange drink for me. Okay, Vinay. Wait, Mom. I want to see how to make it, so that I'll be able to make it for my friends when they come in the evening. Mom, how did you know what to add and how much? It is written on the bottle. To make a glass of drink, take 1 cup of orange squash. Pour it into a glass, add 3 cups of water to it. And then mix them well. Your drink will be ready to serve. Mummy, please make 1 drink for me too. Now, how will you add the squash and water to make the drinks for both of us? See, to make it for 1 person, we have to take 1 cup of squash and 3 cups of water. For 2 persons, we have to double the quantities of both the squash and water. That means we need to take 2 cups of squash and 6 cups of water. Think, if I have to make it for 3, then we have to take 3 cups of squash and 9 cups of water. Here, the quantity of water we have added is 3 times the quantity of squash. How did you find it out? If we divide the number of cups of water by the number of cups of squash, we get 3 each time. Mummy, it is denoting 3 times 1. Correct. You know, here you are comparing using ratios. What is a ratio? The comparison of two quantities in terms of how many times is called ratio. Here, the ratio of squash to water is 1:3, and it is read as 1:3. Using ratio, it is easy to calculate. How? The ratio of squash to water for one person is 1:3. If we have to make it for 2 persons, then multiply the ratio by 2. Then it becomes 2:6. For 3 persons, multiply it by 3. That is 3:9. Can you find how much squash and water is to be added for 10 persons? For 10 persons, I have to take 10 cups of squash and 30 cups of water. And I come to know by multiplying the ratio by 10. Here, for all the ratios we have found, we have added water 3 times of squash. That means the ratio is constant here. Such ratios, which are obtained by multiplying or dividing by any counting number, are equivalent ratios. 1:3 is its lowest form, as it can't be further divided. Correct. Now you get it. We have used the squash and water in the ratio of 1:3. For this, can you write the ratio of water to 1 glass of drink made? I think it is 3:1. No, Vinay, we can't calculate ratio in different units. Here, the unit for water is 3 cups. Then we have to use the same unit for the drink also. 1 glass of drink contains 1 cup of squash and 3 cups of water. That is, 4 cups are poured into 1 glass to make 1 drink. Yes, that is why the ratio of quantity of water to drink is 3:4. And for quantity of squash to drink, it becomes 1:4. So, while writing ratios, first we have to convert different quantities in the same unit. Let's recap. Ratio. The comparison of quantities in terms of how many times a quantity is of another quantity is called a ratio. Equivalent ratio. Ratios which are obtained by multiplying or dividing by any counting number are equivalent ratios. A ratio is a comparison between quantities in same measures or units.
So my dear students, I hope you enjoyed the video. So let us discuss some basic things. At first, ratio. Definition 1. In mathematics, a ratio indicates how many times one number contains another. Let us see an example. If there are 8 oranges and 6 lemons in a bowl of fruit, then the ratio of oranges to lemons is 8:6. Or you can write 8:6. Similarly, the ratio of lemons to oranges is 6:8. And my dear students, this is the definition 1 of ratio, and this is the example. Ratio. Definition 2. Of the same quantities of the same kind, one is how many times or parts compared to the other can be expressed by fraction. This fraction is called ratio of two quantities. Since the two quantities are of the same kind, the ratio has no unit. Let us see an example. Alam's weight is 30 kg and his father is 60 kg. How many times is the weight of father greater than that of Alam? Let's solve it. Ratio of the weights of father and alum is, you can see in here father is 60 kg and alum is 30 kg. So you can write down 60 kg divided by 30 kg because ratio is one kind of fraction, and if we reduce 60 by 30 we get 2 divided by 1 equals to 2:1. Again I am saying ratio is one kind of fraction, so from fraction we can write ratio and from ratio we can write fraction. So 2:1 is our desired answer. So this is the definition 2 and this one is the example, and 2:1 is our desired answer. Equivalent ratios. Two ratios that have the same value are called equivalent ratios. To find an equivalent ratio, multiply or divide both antecedents and subsequent by the same number except 0. In here I am saying you antecedent is the numerator, subsequent is the denominator. It is the same process as finding the equivalent fraction. Let us see an example. Example 2:5, as ratio is a one kind of fraction, so we can write 2 divided by 5. After that 2 divided by 5, and with the antecedent we will multiply by 2 and subsequent we will multiply the same number by 2. That is the thing in here written. After that 2 multiplied by 2, that would be 4. 2 multiplied by 5, that would be 10. So from fraction we can write the ratio 4:10. So this is the equivalent ratios. Therefore 2:5 and 4:10 are equivalent ratios. So my dear students, this is equivalent ratios definition. After that this one is the example, and 2:5 and 4:10 are equivalent ratios. Simple ratio. The ratio of two quantities is called simple ratio. The first quantity of simple ratio is called antecedent and the second quantity is called subsequent. Example 3:5 is a simple ratio. Here 3 is the antecedent and 5 is the subsequent. So my dear student, 3 is the antecedent and 5 is the subsequent. Ratio of less inequality. If the antecedent is smaller than the subsequent of a simple ratio, the ratio is called the ratio of less inequality. Example 3:5 and 4:7 both are the ratios of less inequality because in here antecedent 3 is less than the subsequent, in here antecedent 4 is less than the subsequent. So this is the ratio of less inequality. Now ratio of greater inequality. If the antecedent is greater than the subsequent of a simple ratio, the ratio is called the ratio of greater inequality. So this is the opposite of ratio of less inequality. Example 5:3 and 7:4 both are the ratios of greater inequality because in here antecedent is bigger than the subsequent, 7 is bigger than the subsequent 4. So this is the example of ratio of greater inequality. Unit ratio. The ratio in which the antecedent and the subsequent are equal is called unit ratio. 15:15 or 1:1. In here you can see antecedent and the subsequent is the same. So this one is the unit ratio. So inverse ratio. By interchanging the antecedent and subsequent of a simple ratio is called inverse ratio. Let us see an example. 5:13 is the inverse ratio of 13:5. In here antecedent will be in subsequent position and subsequent will be in antecedent position. This is the inverse ratio. So 5:13 is the inverse ratio of 13:5. Mixed or compound ratio. The ratio obtained by whose antecedent and subsequent are formed by the products of antecedents and subsequent of more than one simple ratio is called mixed or compound ratio. Let us see an example. The mixed ratio of simple ratio. 2:3 and 5:7 is, at first we will multiply antecedent with the antecedent, 2 multiplied by 5, after that subsequent with the subsequent, 3 multiplied by 7. So if we multiply, 10:21 is the desired mixed or compound ratio. So this is the process you can see in example how to find mixed or compound ratio. Now example 1, the creative question. This is the stem. The ratio of age of Jasmine and Abida is 3:2. The present age ratio of Abida and Anika is 5:1. The present age of Anika is 3 years 6 months. Number A, express the first ratio in the stem into percentage. Number B, what will be Abida's age after 5 years? Number C, what is the percentage of Anika's present age to Jasmine's present age? Let us see the solution number A. The first ratio of the stem, as here you can see the first ratio is 3:2, and the question is express this first ratio into percentage. So we have to make percentage this 3:2. So 3:2, and as we can write, ratio is on kind of fraction, 3 divided by 2. For making percentage, we have to multiply with the antecedent by 100 and the subsequent by 100 also. And from the subsequent, this 100, instead of this 100 we can write down the percentage sign, because percentage is equal to 1 divided by 100. So if we reduce, we get 100 divided by 2, that would be 50. 3 multiplied by 50, that would be 150%. That is our desired answer of A. Let us see the solution number B, and the question is what will be Abida's age after 5 years? So at first we have to find out Abida's present age, then we can get after 5 years Abida's age. So how to find? Let us see the relation of Abida with whom? Present age of Abida is 2, present age of Anika equals to 5:1. In here you can see the relation with Anika, there is a relation with Abida. It means Abida's present age is 5 times more than Anika's present age. From ratio definition we can write it. So at first we have to convert Anika's present age to months. It will be helpful for our calculation. You have to convert in years or you can convert in months. So 3 years 6 months, if we want to convert to it in the months, 3 multiplied by 12, because 1 year equals to 12 months. So 36 plus 6 months and 42 months. This is Anika's present age. After that, Abida's present age, 42 multiplied by 5. How? Because in here it is written Abida's present age is 5 times more than Anika's present age. So Anika's present age is 42. So Abida's present age will be multiply 42 by 5. 210 months. And if we convert it to year, we get 210 divided by 12. That would be 35 by 2. So if we divide 17 whole on divided by 2 years. So after 5 years, Abida's age will be 5 plus 17 whole on divided by 2, because this is present age, and after 5 years we have to addition. So 22 on divided by 2, that means 22 whole on divided by 2 years. That is the Abida's age after 5 years. So my dear students, this is solution number A. We get the percentage 150%, and after that solution number B, from the relation of Abida and Anika ratio 5:1, we can say Abida's present age is 5 times more than Anika's present age. Then we get Abida's present age is 17 whole on divided by 2 years. After that, if we add with 5, we get the age of Abida 22 whole on divided by 2 years. Now from example 1, question number C solution. What is the percentage of Anika's present age to Jasmine's present age? So Abida, age of Jasmine is to age of Abida equals to 3:2. From B, Abida's present age 17 whole on divided by 2 years, or if we make the common fraction, we get 35 by 2 years. Therefore, Jasmine's present age 35 divided by 2 multiplied by 3 by 2, because in here age of Jasmine is to age of Abida equals to 3:2. So then we get 105 by 4 years, and after that if we divide, we get 26 whole on divided by 4 years. Now Anika's present age 3 years 6 months. So if we can convert it in years, then we have to divide 6 divided by 12, because 1 year equals to 12 months. And if we reduce 12 by 6, we get 1 divided by 2. And after that, from mixed fraction, we can find the common fraction 3 multiplied by 2, that would be 6, plus 1, that would be 7 divided by 2 years. After that, Anika's present age is Jasmine's present age. In here it is written Anika's present age is to Jasmine's present age. That would be 7 divided by 2 divided by 105 by 4. And if we multiply, that would be reciprocal. Antecedent will be in the subsequent, and subsequent will be antecedent. So 4 divided by 105. After that, when we reduce, we get 2 divided by 15. And if we want to make it percentage, we have to multiply by 100. And because of subsequent 100, we can write down the percentage sign. If we reduce, we get 40 divided by 3%. And after the division, we get 13 whole on by 3%. So that is the desired answer of question number C. Let's see again, my dear students. In here, age of Jasmine and age of Abida is 3:2. From B, we get Abida's present age 35 divided by 2 years. After that, Jasmine's present age, from the ratio 3:2, we get 26 whole on divided by 4 years. Now Anika's present age is 3 years 6 months, and if we want to convert it to years, we get 7 divided by 2 years. After that, Anika's present age is Jasmine's present age, and if we calculate, we get the answer 13 whole on divided by 3%. So my dear students, now example number 3. Determine the compound ratio of the given simple ratios 5:7, 4:9, 3:2. Let us see the solution. And for finding compound ratio, at first we have to do the product of the antecedents of the given ratio is 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3, that would be 60. And the product of the subsequent of the given ratio 7 multiplied by 9 multiplied by 2, that would be 126. Therefore, required compound ratio is 60:126, or 60 divided by 126, because ratio is one kind of fraction. After the reduce, we can get 10 divided by 21 divided by 6. So from the fraction, we can write down 10:21. That is our desired compound ratio. So let us see again. At first, we have to find out the product of the antecedents, then the product of the subsequent, then we have to find the compound ratio. Antecedent is to subsequent, 10:21 is our desired answer. So summary of today's lesson. Ratio. A ratio indicates how many times one number contains another. After that, equivalent ratios, two ratios that have the same value are called equivalent ratios. After that, simple ratio, the ratio of two quantities is called simple ratio. Unit ratio, the ratio in which the antecedent and the subsequent are equal, is called unit ratio. Mixed or compound ratio, the ratio obtained by whose antecedent and subsequent are formed by the products of antecedent and subsequent of more than one simple ratio, is called mixed ratio. So my dear students, I am just discussing very shortly. This is the summary of today's lesson. You have learned already simple ratio, unit ratio, after that mixed or compound ratio, So now ratio of less inequality. If the antecedent is smaller than the subsequent of a simple ratio, the ratio is called the ratio of less inequality. Let us see an example, my dear students. Example, 3 is to 5 and 4 is to 7 both are the ratios of less inequality because the antecedent part 3 is less than the subsequent, and in the second ratio 4 is less than the subsequent 7. Now, ratio of greater inequality. If the antecedent is greater than the subsequent of a simple ratio, the ratio is called the ratio of greater inequality. This is the opposition of less inequality. So example, 5 is to 3 and 7 is to 4 both are the ratios of greater inequality because the antecedent is bigger than the subsequent, and the second ratio also antecedent is bigger than the subsequent, my dear students. So let us see again, this is the example of ratio of less inequality, and this one is the example of ratio of greater inequality. Now, unit ratio. The ratio in which the antecedent and the subsequent are equal is called unit ratio. Let us see an example. Example, 15 is to 15, that is antecedent and the subsequent is same, or 1 is to 1, that is antecedent and subsequent is the same value. Now, inverse ratio. By interchanging the antecedent and the subsequent of a simple ratio is called inverse ratio. Let us see an example. 5 is to 13 is the inverse ratio of 13 is to 5, my dear students. So this is the unit ratio and this one is the example, and this one is the inverse ratio and is the example. My dear students, today there is a OSW from chapter 2 and the page number is 52 to 53. Example 4, 5, 6 you have to do. So my dear students, I hope you have enjoyed the class and you have understood all the lessons that today I have solved. And please do your homework properly. It is very important because in this situation you have to do practice at your home more and more. So thank you so much, and we will meet in the next class.